Hi, this is Gareth, or See Me Scrolling. I was asked by Leaf Greenbeast in the comments of my last video, a quick guide to scrolls, to create another video, and I apologise for it being so late, but another video on how to build and play other resource types, other decks. I did focus on growth previously. Now, certainly what I would say is, if you're just starting the game itself, and you've never sort of built decks before, then I really would suggest that you net deck. And by that I mean you go to a site like Scrollger.com and you look at the most popular decks that are actually on the site there. What you would then do is you'd just load the code up to the deck. You can put them into here, click on OK, and then it will actually check to see what scrolls you already have and also what you need. So you can always go back to go to the store or go to Black Market or something like that. Basically just try and get the scrolls that you need. And once you have a deck that's like that, what would happen is you would play the game, you'd play the deck, you'd see what scrolls you like, what works for you, and you would generally adapt that deck to how you want to play anyway. Some people think it's cheating that you're using somebody else's deck, but really you need to have a foundation, and certainly if you're a new player, you may not necessarily understand what that would be, but certainly playing loads of different decks that have already been created, you're going to arrive at your own style, your own sort of deck composition anyway. So I would certainly say that's a very good way to start off. If you insist on building from scratch, then essentially what you'd want to do is, there are various levels to a deck. Normally what you'd have is you'd have individual scrolls which are important. Normally those individual scrolls would be the finishers, the scroll, either it's the spell, the structure, the creature, or whatever. So you're basing your whole deck off. More often than not, what those will be the very expensive ones like Thea here, or you'd have something like God Hand, a spell which gives plus to attack to every creature on the or every unit, on the board, and also decreases their countdown by 2. So suddenly you've got a massive attack there. What you could also have is something like Necrogeddon, where if you've got enough creatures around that, you've got a Necrogeddon, which would basically remove all of the creatures that you have on the board and replace them by husks, basically destroying them. If you combine that with, just going to show you how to go through various filters here, and tell you what, I'll actually spell this correctly and also say correctly. What do you do? Okay, you combine Necrogeddon with Watcher, and suddenly you have a combo there. Watcher, when a unit adjacent to Watcher is destroyed by non-combat damage or death effects, Watcher deals 2 damage to a random opponent idol. So, what essentially happens there is if you have Necrogeddon, which basically destroys all the creatures on the board, and those creatures are next to the Watcher, each creature that's destroyed will do 2 damage to an opponent's idol. So if you have enough of those, enough Necrogeddons cast, enough Watchers, you can pretty much destroy quite a few idols. So there's a finisher there which you want to look at. So that's always the first thing to do. Now what I'll do is I'll start off with what we were working with before, which was the growth resource. Now the thing is, there's always something that's common to a resource. Now there are sort of general concepts for each of the resources. Now for instance with growth, it's beasts. So let's do, say in the description, type, so beasts. Oop. And you'll see that there's loads of beasts there. So anything that affects beasts would actually, have you got any spells there? Type. Yep. So what you'd have is you'd have the creature beast. So that's the subtypes. So you'll have subtypes to every single resource. I'll show you the other ones when I get to them. And also if you have in the description beasts, you'll see there are certain spells that will actually affect beasts or be affected by beasts. So suddenly you have a synergy there. And the way it would normally work is you'd have individuals which are strong. You'd have pairings like you would have with Necrogeddon and with Watcher. And then you'd also have general synergies, so beasts. And then from that, you would try and build your deck. Now, in Growth, for instance, we have a wolf subtype. So you'd have the finisher here, which would be the Great Wolf, because he can get +1 attack for every other wolf that he controls, plus Relentless, which means he basically attacks through other units. You have Brother of the Wolf, which creates new wolves. You would have the Manji Wolf, which actually reduces the countdown. As soon as that hits the board, it reduces the countdown by 1 of every wolf that's on the board. And you'd have the Ragged Wolf, which has haste, so that immediately attacks as well. Now, if you've played before, and I think if normally you would have the Growth starter deck, you would see that Ragged Wolf plus a strong enchantment means it does quite a bit of damage. The Great Wolf, for every single one that's on the board, and you've got 3, 6 there you could have on the board, plus anything that's been generated by this, something that's +6, potentially, +6 attack, and 9 can do a lot of damage. So you've got a synergy there to build the decks around. Now with energy, you would have type Automaton. And obviously you've got all these different types of automatons here. And you also have Gravelocks. So you've got the strong Gravelocks. You've got the boosting Gravelocks. So other Gravelocks you control have +1 health. You have this one here which says you may reset its countdown to increase current energy by the number of Gravelocks you control. So there's certainly a mixed bag here. Where is it? We'll go back to this one. For another Gravelock you control takes damage, Gravelock Freak's countdown is decreased by 1. So certainly having Gravelocks on the board would be important. Another thing actually with energy is, let's have description, ranged. So ranged attack as well. That's a certain synergy that you can have, another focus for the for your deck. Then with order, you've got type. You notice there was some range there as well. Type can be knights. Soldiers. I should stop putting plural. And then also within energy, you have countdown affecting spells, a Blessing of Haste. And Roasted Bean Potion. And speed, most importantly. Now I'm going quite quickly through this, but certainly just listen to the video whilst you're going through the cards yourself, the scrolls yourself. But you see there's various synergies that you can have with these. Now if we go to Undead, you have, or should I say Decay, you can have Undead. And also, you have Poison. Now, without looking at each individual scroll, what you're seeing there is common factors all the way through here. And what you can do is you go, I know what I'll do. I'll try and create a poison deck. So what you have is you have, say, Infectious Blight. You have Miasma Well. You have Maya Curse. Now, whilst it's worth having a strong theme, you essentially have to have the finishing move. You have to have the theme itself, so the general theme that whenever you play a scroll down, it's going to interact, it's going to synergize with everything else that's on the board. You also want to have, and this is important for all, clear table. You need to have card draw. So for instance, Smuggler, when it actually hits an idol, it will draw a structure scroll. Languid, for instance, when you play Languid, it will draw a scroll. Sister of the Fox, as you'll probably have seen when you've been initially playing, as soon as that's actually played, it draws a scroll. Because you need to have more scrolls coming in, so you don't have to keep on sacrificing for them. Makes it easier for you to get more resources if you've got more scrolls. And also, conversely, if you have more resources, so for instance, that actually manipulates resources. So if we have growth, for instance, no growth, so Veta boosts you temporarily by 1. Vengeful, once pillagers are activated, once it hits an idol, it'll increase your growth by 1. Turn to nature, increases you by 1. Or you've got energy manipulation. So that's a cross-faction one there. It's got decay will increase current energy. You can pay 3 energy. Increases current energy by 6. So again, there's a theme there. So you need to have the resources. You need to have card draw, scroll draw, should I say. And you need to have your actual base theme and your finisher. The other factor is the actual, let me just load up a deck here. Say Atmaz, good friend Atmaz's Decay deck. If you look at the stats on the side here, you'll see that there's a curve to the actual deck itself. And what you want to have all of your scrolls here. Oh, if they're 7, they must be really powerful, so you get loads of them up here and only a few down here. If you do that, it means it'll take you ages to actually get them, and also, well, you might be already destroyed and the game over by the time you actually get to them. So what you need to do is make sure there's a curve that flows up to those. Or if you have an aggro deck, like so for instance, let's load growth aggro, they're all to here, and there's a full, most of them are at 2 cost, so you're going to be getting them out quite quickly, and you're always going to have somebody to play. So the curve is very much at the start. Now, there's a lot of concepts to try and take in when you're first learning, and that's essentially the reason why I would suggest that rather than build your own decks, what you do is you take on somebody else's deck, or various decks for different resource types, and then play those, and then stop manipulating the decks themselves. What you'll need to look for, as I say, is you need to look for what the actual theme is for the deck, what the synergies are that are there. Look to see what finishing moves can be made with that. Is it something that's a single scroll that you play, like God Hand, that helps you destroy everything? Is it something that relies upon your opponent doing something? or is it just sheer numbers that's out there, just clearing the board? So there's various themes, various things you can look for in that. Now, once you have the theme, the structure of the actual, so the synergy between each of the scrolls, look to see how you can draw scrolls, and look to see how you can increase your resources. And then once you've got a better idea of that, then essentially you'll have a better idea how to start creating your own decks. By all means, just start throwing some together, try them against the easy and medium AI, and see whether it actually works. If you find that you can't actually destroy them quick enough, then maybe you need to change the curve. Maybe you need to find out what it is that's wrong with the actual deck itself. I mean, I'm not the expert on this. There are a large number of guides that you'll be able to find in Scrolls Guide, and certainly by all means go on to Reddit and ask questions there. I'm sure this has probably given you created more questions than certainly answers, but I just wanted to try and cover some of the actual points here. Now, if you have any questions, by all means add them into your comments. Thank you very much for watching this, and have a good evening.